Okay, welcome back. Here we are. We are live. We are running. Looks like we are running on all 8 cylinders. Guys, as you come on board, check in and let me know where you're from. Let me know if you're a first-time viewer. I would love to see all the first-time viewers, hear from the first-time viewers. I got the comment section open on Rumble and on YouTube. They don't always show up in X for whatever reason. So if you're on X, drop me a comment and I'll get back to you after the fact because I'm only watching the YouTube and Rumble feeds. But we got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. So let me give you a quick recap here, or a quick rundown of what we're going to discuss. First off, Virginia Giuffre, Epstein's most vocal victim, was found apparently due to suicide at 41. So we've got that going on. Plus, we got to go. Obviously, you can't talk about Jeffrey Epstein without getting a little bit deeper into some of the facts around this, i.e., Epstein's cellmate, now Epstein's most vocal victim, all being unalived in one way or another. Coincidence? I don't know. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about liberals. I discussed this yesterday during the live stream, but everybody going nuts about these judges being arrested, and the left is still having a hissy fit. I've got some additional details on that one. Very interesting stuff. We've got the Democrats being accused of being out of touch with their voters as some new polls are coming out, specifically talking about young voters. And again, this is something I have addressed already on this show. We've got Adam Schiff saying that San Francisco is absolutely hosed. So he's saying we got to change some stuff. Why? Because he got robbed while he was in San Francisco, and he happened to talk to an attendant in a CVS who said, yeah, the Democrats are a-holes, is the way they put it. We've got Alex Soros possibly destroying the brand that his father created. We've got, a judge temporarily blocks Trump order ending collective bargaining for federal workers, which I think that's a brilliant idea. Federal workers and the unions and all that stuff are part of the reason we have a massive bloated federal government. But we've also got the new pope, potentially. Not that he's not going to be the new pope necessarily, but one of the favorites. Cardinal Robert Sarah, who is a very conservative guy. Is the Catholic Church finally going to get a conservative pope? We'll see. So we've got a lot to discuss today. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you're brand new to this channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. This channel is growing, and I'm appreciative for all of my return guests. The big thing before I get into it, I will say, please use that comment section. It really helps out the algorithm, and it helps me hear from you guys. I've got some very, very consistent viewers who like to get in the chat whenever I'm on. If you're a new one, hop in there with them, and you all have discussions, and I will get to chats eventually here during the show. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Virginia Giuffre, Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew accuser, dead at 41 by suicide, and this is in Australia. This is according to Fox News. So Virginia Giuffre, a woman who accused Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew of abuse when she was underage, has died by suicide, according to a report. Giuffre, 41, was one of Epstein and Andrew's most prominent accusers, filing a lawsuit against the English royal in New York in 2021, claiming she was forced to have sex with him 3 times between 1999 and 2002 when she was underage. Giuffre died in near Gabby, Australia, where she had been living. This is according to NBC News. So Epstein died by suicide. Let's put that in air quotes, by suicide in a New York City jail cell in 2019 after being federally charged with sex trafficking. It is with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. Her family said in a statement to NBC News, she lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sexual trafficking. Guys, this is one of the reasons that I am that I come out so loud about the southern border. Why I'm so loud about the southern border. Why I'm so loud about the human trafficking problem that's going on, not just in America, but around the globe. Although America is one of the top offenders when it comes to trafficking. And now that Jeffrey Epstein is gone, that's not going to stop. The cartels are doing this. This has been a key component of what's going on at the southern border. But, again, it's hard to bring this up because it is very recent. This family is dealing with a lot of things. But this is one of the most controversial issues that we're facing in America today, and it's been one of the loudest battle cries from Trump supporters is, where is the Epstein list? And Virginia Giuffre was a Trump supporter, according to X. She had posted on X, but because she wanted Donald Trump to release the list. She had said this. She had been loud and clear about releasing the Epstein victim list, and it still hasn't happened. This is why I question Pam Bondi on a regular basis. Should we be listening to Pam Bondi? We should be listening to Pam Bondi, but should we trust Pam Bondi? I don't know her from Adam. I didn't know a whole lot about her before Donald Trump put her in as Attorney General, and I remain skeptical. I was skeptical then. I am skeptical now. And the folks that really support her and support Kash Patel say, just be patient, just be patient. But Kash Patel promised us this information on day one. It hasn't happened. Pam Bondi promised this information early on, and though we are only months into the Trump presidency, though it feels like it's been over a year, she has still not released this Epstein list. Again, I will say, Jeffrey Epstein, suicide, but as Senator Kennedy said, drywall, Christmas ornaments, and Jeffrey Epstein. Name 3 things that don't hang themselves. We now have Virginia Giuffre, who has unalived herself, and Epstein's last cellmate, Efren Stone Reyes, who died on November 27th, 2020 at his mother's apartment in the Bronx. They said from complications related to COVID-19, contracted while in a Queens jail. He was 51 at the time. So we have a 41-year-old, a 51-year-old, all these young folks who just happen to be tied to this Jeffrey Epstein case are now being unalived. Can I say it definitively that this? No, but that's part of a conspiracy, right? There's some plausible deniability. There's things that could potentially be explained. But as a person who inherently distrusts the federal government, who distrusts the intel agencies, who distrusts the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, all these agencies that Trump is early on in the process of filtering through and cleaning out, do I think it's possible that some nefarious things happened? Yeah, I absolutely do. This whole case is brought, it should be approached with skepticism, wild skepticism. And why I still haven't seen an explanation for this, and if you guys have, definitely hit me up in the comments about it. But this was his first cellmate. Epstein's first cellmate was a former cop. He was sentenced to life in prison, but he was a former cop. Why was he moved and swapped with somebody else who then later met his demise because of COVID-19? When so many things line up as that, I mean, I don't want to say coincidence, but when so many things line up that look shady, that look strange, is it not logical to question those things? I believe that it is. I believe we are supposed to question everything, especially in a time of, where politicians and these folks on social media are trying to gain as much clout and as much, in particular the power. They're trying to fight against the power of Donald Trump. This Epstein list is political poison for all of them. I mean, look at all the Clinton folks, right? The folks that have been tied to the Clintons, being hung from a tree, and yet they were shot in the back with a shotgun. It's silly things like this. I'm sorry, you can't overlook potential conspiracy theories. And I refuse to look beyond it and say, oh, well, if this is what the authorities said, this is what it is. We're talking about the most powerful people in the world. Prince Andrew lost titles, lost power inside of the royal family and position inside of the royal family. Some of the wealthiest landowners in the world, influential people. Do we think it's weird they would try to cover that sort of thing up? No, it's not. It's really not. I would love to know your guys' opinion. Am I just being a wild, silly conspiracy theorist? Please let me know. Please let me know if you think I am. But I don't think I am. We got to keep our ear to the grindstone on this one. Oh, boy. Okay, so those are the main points that I wanted to hit on this one. I just think we got to keep our eyes open, keep our ears open, listen to what's going on with this case. If nothing comes out, I think that's telling in and of itself. I think that the FBI You know, granted, it happened in Australia, so how much cooperation are we going to get from them? How much? Because this is a heavily American issue because it deals with Jeffrey Epstein and his influence here in America, buying politicians, controlling politicians, blackmailing politicians. Hopefully, there's going to be some cooperation between the Australian government, the Australian investigators, and Americans and the Americans. But we shall see. We shall see. Okay, so the next thing let's talk about, and again, this one's not going to go, this live stream is not going to go the full hour. It's probably going to be about 30 minutes. I got about 20 more minutes with you guys. This one's funny more than it is anything else. This is a meme. You know, everybody's been talking about the judges, right? The judges, when it comes to Trump deporting, or not deporting, sorry. I was looking at the comment section. I got distracted here. Yes, we need to be aware, Janie. Correct. We need to be aware. But when it comes to Trump arresting these judges, or the FBI, it's not Trump, but it's the FBI arresting these judges. This is all of the Democrats deleting their "no one is above the law" tweets. If you need a good description of that, this is it, right? No one is above the law. No one is above the law, right? I'm going to play a clip from you. Poor folks. That's a lot of 401ks going down the drain there. But this is, let me make sure I got the right video clip here. Is this the one? Yeah, here it is. Remember, no one is above the law. While they're saying that, oh, Donald Trump shouldn't be arresting these judges, he shouldn't be going after these judges, the ones that are harboring
of American justice.
Illegal immigrants.
No man is above the law, no matter what the crime.
And I agree with you. No man is above the law, and no person is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one's above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No man is above the law.
He has to be held accountable. He's not above the law.
No one's above the law. Either that nor any other title puts you above the rule of law.
No one is truly above the law.
That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what it means to not have a king.
They're not above the law. Nobody is above the law.
Everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as equally.
Well, that no one is above the law, which is foundational.
No one is above the law, even a former president.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
To include judges. When judges break the law, they are not above the law. This is why all these judges trying to stop. We'll talk about the one with the federal unions, but this is why I'm sorry, a judge making a partisan judge making some proclamation online doesn't just grind the executive branch to a halt. Sorry, but it doesn't. And the Democrats have been telling you and me and everybody, nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law, except for judges. As I said yesterday, the federal judges, these are political appointees. Now, I don't think these two judges that were harboring illegal immigrant gang members were federal judges. My understanding is they were not. But these judges who are supposed to be upholding the law were not. We're in direct violation of the law. Therefore, we're now seeing accountability for the judges. Nobody's above the law, right? Exactly. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if you agree with that one. I'm totally okay with it. But the Democrats, they are still saying, nope, we need to do what everybody needs to be doing, what these judges are doing. Everybody needs to be harboring illegal immigrants in their homes, just like the judges were doing. Check this out. Well, if my video is going to play, come on, X. Do your job.
For taking a judge in this manner. And I want to be really clear that what Judge Dugan apparently did was what all of us should be doing. And that is standing up for folks in our communities who need support right now against the Trump regime more than ever.
Hey, stand up against Trump. Violate the law. Harbor gang members in your home. If you're okay with, I would love to know if somebody's watching right now, because we got a few folks on. If you are okay harboring illegal immigrants in your home, I would love to get your comments. Love to hear how you think that's a good idea. Why you think we should be doing that. But this is what the Democrats are telling their voters. This is what Democrats are trying to tell la-di-da-di everybody. Let's look at a couple of crime stats, or listen to a couple of crime stats here. This is what we got across the southern border. Let's check this one out. Here we go.
numbers moments ago, but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered deported from the country by a judge but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there. Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges who are roaming the country, and another 4,250 non-citizens who have pending sexual assault charges who are roaming the country on the non-detained docket. So people's eyes might be glazing over right now with all the numbers we just threw at you. Just to put it in a nutshell right here, what we've learned from the acting ICE director via this letter to Congressman Tony Gonzalez is right now there are over 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of homicide who are roaming the United States right now. There are another 15,811 illegal aliens roaming the country right now who have been convicted of sexual assault, and there are even more who are facing charges for homicide and charges for sexual assault. So
okay, this is, and by the way, we have to point out the fact that this is what we know about. These are the people that we actually know about. How many gotaways are there? How many people that slipped through that never came in contact with Border Patrol, never came in contact with ICE, have never come in contact with anybody that could document, that could get their biometrics, trace that or vet them back to their home country? How many people have come in that we don't know about? If of the ones that we know, which we all know because we've been keeping track of this, a fraction of the people that actually came across the border were came in contact with our federal law enforcement. How many do we not know about? How many other murderers are out there? How many other sexual, people that would perpetuate sexual assault on Americans are out there? And I think that this plays into, some of the recent polling. Donald Trump won because the border was a very, very big deal. And all this ties together because of the human trafficking problem. Jeffrey Epstein was the richest among them. He was one of the most influential among them. But this is a huge moneymaker for the cartels. And Democrats now are accused of being out of touch as a new poll shows a drop in support from young voters. Brett Cooper, who's a very, very prominent young commentator, sounds off on Dick Durbin's exit, AOC's emergence to the forefront of the Democrat Party. So an alarming new polling from the Democrat Party suggests it is losing ground among young voters, a demographic that has traditionally leaned blue. This plays into what I was talking about a few shows ago. And I think it might have been the one where I had my buddy Chuck on, but we were talking about losing the young vote and how young men are really starting to go conservative. Young men are starting to go back to church. Young men are looking for traditional values. And this is shifting the demographics. It's shifting the polling for young people across the board. And so Brett Cooper, host of The Brett Cooper Show, says many in her generation feel alienated by a party that no longer reflects their values or energy. Quote, Democrats are completely out of touch with their voter base, Cooper said. They are aging out. We do not want them in Congress anymore on the left and the right. So let's look at this from a couple of angles. One is The right has been saying this for a while, that we need term limits, we need to get out the political establishment. But on the left, as I said before in one of my previous shows, people like David Hogg, the new, what is he, the vice chair for the DNC? I think that's his new position. He's leaning into that, saying, no, it's not getting rid of the political establishment. It's putting in a new political establishment. So even the young people, the indoctrinated far left people like David Hogg are saying, no, yeah, we got to have, it's not term limits. We don't want term limits. We want to put in our own entrenched deep state, our own entrenched elite inside of Congress. The centrists and the right are saying, no, we're moving completely away from that. And there's a huge number of young people who think the same thing. They don't like the unrelatable 80-somethings who have been in Congress for 30 and 40 years and gotten us $36 trillion in debt, given us a $2 trillion deficit, and absolutely wrecked our economy. They want young people in, but they want to turn them over. This is the difference, and it's a fascinating difference, and I think it's a good thing that centrists and people on the right, the movement on the right, this new conservative movement, is going that way. But the left is saying, we just need a new version of the old thing. We need younger people doing the same thing that the old people we hate are doing. It's a recipe for disaster, and to that I say, knock yourself out. Go for it. Absolutely. Put in your own entrenched political elites on the left. The wild and crazies like you've got in Crockett and AOC and, that type of folk. The real Marxist, Ayanna Pressley and oh gosh, I'm trying to pull up some of the names off the top of my head, but you know who I'm talking about. The real oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. The ones that are all over social media that most people curl their nose at. Go for it, guys. By all means. 2028 for the Republican Party. But it's very true. And, their policies are losing as well. This is Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff actually came out recently. He was on Bill Maher, and I'll play the video here in a minute. But Adam Schiff reveals what a San Francisco cashier bluntly told him about Dems, warns that the party has a major problem. Senator Adam Schiff, Democrat from California, how that guy became a senator. Sorry, California, y'all got some problems. But he offered a dire warning to fellow Democrats, recalling an exchange he had with a Target cashier in San Francisco, insisting his party has a, quote, major problem. During a panel discussion on Friday's Real Time with Bill Maher, Schiff was asked to weigh in on the current state of the Democrat Party and how it governs, particularly in a state like California. Well, let's listen to Adam Schiff. Let's listen to his lived experience, to use a term from the Democrats. This is about a 1 minute and 45-second clip that is, it's kind of revealing. Tells you where Democrat politics is going in California.
Change how we do business in California. We're going to have to address people's legitimate concerns about crime. I was in South San Francisco 2 years ago after I had an experience in the city that all too many people had. When my luggage was stolen out of my car, they tell you don't ever leave your luggage in the car. I never do until the one time I did. And of course, it got stolen. And what was most memorable about the experience for me is I went to this Target in South San Francisco, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm getting the toiletries I'm going to need for my next 2 days in the city. I get to the cashier.
You went there by yourself, not an assistant.
I think I went there. Well, yes, I had somebody drop me off at the store, and so
I don't mean to make that an issue. Actually, I waited somewhere I should not have waited.
Okay. First of all, I had to get the clerk, which is hard to find, to unlock the shampoo or the whatever. So that's one thing. And then I get to the cashier. The cashier asked me if I want one of those Target bags with a little bullseye on it. And I said, yes, that Target bag is going to be my luggage for the next 2 days. And she asked me what happened, and I told her. And she basically said, in not so many words, yeah, Democrats are assholes. And I thought, if the cashier in South San Francisco at 10 o'clock at night believes that Democrats are assholes because the shampoo is locked up and my stuff got stolen out of the trunk, we've got a major problem.
she's not wrong. She's not wrong. But look, Adam Schiff can say we're going to do something about this. We've got to change the way we're approaching policy. We got to change the way we're approaching politics. We got to change this. We got to change that. I'll be honest, I think that the Democrats and Republicans, they will say these things because now they're confronted with him face to face. He has his luggage stolen. He goes into a store. The lady says, oh, Democrats are this, and, goes to name calling. But all he's going to do is he's going to use a different car service. He's going to hire some private security. He's going to never leave his car unattended. He lives a very insulated, cushy life. Do I really think Adam Schiff is going to do anything? No, because we've been hearing, I'm 44 years old now. For 44 years, I've been hearing politicians say, we got to change this. We got to change that. I've really only been paying attention for about 20, but we got to change this. We got to change that. We've got to improve this and improve the way we do this business and that business. Do they ever change anything? No. Nothing changed until Donald Trump came along. And they are fighting Donald Trump. So, yeah, Adam Schiff, he can brush it off. Why? Because he's got a ton of money. He's gotten rich being in politics. He's got bukus of money. He doesn't have to pay for his meals. He's got car service. He's living his life off the taxpayer dime. He's relatively unaffected. The average person who has their luggage stolen out of their car, they might not be able to replace that. They might not be able to just pop into Target and buy all new stuff. Do I think Adam Schiff cares about that? No, I really don't. I don't. I think it's something he can say to make himself feel relatable. But they aren't relatable now. They aren't relatable because they are the elites and they are hobnobbing with the elites. Alex Soros is a prime example of that. And I can show you, here, let's just show a couple. There's him accepting the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his father, who's this sinister-looking guy over on the left with Nancy Pelosi and with Chuck Schumer. I don't know why Chuck Schumer always has to look out the top of his eyes like some Disney villain, but he certainly does. But Alex Soros, he's taking the reins for his father, and he's in the hot seat after a left-wing outlet exposes what his dad's network thinks of his online footprint. Well, what does his online footprint look like? Well, it looks like this, which I didn't grab a picture, but I'm going to drop one in here just so I can show you. He's getting his photos taken in his big, monstrous penthouse, which is entirely unrelatable to the common man. But this is kind of his thing. This is his MO. He inherited a bunch of money from his billionaire father, and his father got rich by crushing foreign economies, by holding other countries hostage monetarily. The guy's a real sinister dude. And Alex Soros, basically the way they describe this is he's collecting shiny trinkets in the form of politicians. That photo I just showed you was him doing a fundraising event for Tim Walz. So this past fall, he held a fundraiser at the apartment, at his apartment, for vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, then created a PR headache by posting photos from the event on social media, as is his custom after meeting heads of state and elected officials. It was deemed unhelpful to a presidential ticket, straining to underscore its regularness, that the son of the 94-year-old hedge fund billionaire accused of puppeteering the Democrat Party was publicly advertising his centrality to the election efforts from a New York City penthouse. Look, there's one person who can pose in a New York City penthouse and not lose votes, and that's Donald Trump. I'm sorry, but Alex Soros can't pull it off. And if you guys watched, if you're a returning guest, you probably watched one of my old podcasts where I was talking about this. Alex Soros was at the World Economic Forum, and that guy more than a 13-year-old teenager. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen. More than you could possibly count in one sentence. Not that that necessarily means you're stupid, but I think that he would fit the bill for that one. Alex Soros would. So the Democrat Party is detached. They are the party of the elites. They are the ones schmoozing the politicians, hobnobbing with the politicians, buying the politicians, and it's hurting them. And I say keep doing it. Go for it. What do you guys think? It only helps us, right? It only helps us. Whoo, boy. Speaking of Democrats, one of their biggest supporters, unions. So a judge temporarily blocks Trump order ending collective bargaining rights for most federal workers. So again, this is from Fox News. I'm going heavy on Fox News today. I know I'm usually a post-millennial guy. That's one of my favorites to go to, but you got to switch it up. And I've thrown a little CNN in there, here and there. But so, okay, let me read this. U.S. District Judge Paul Friedman blocked the Trump administration from implementing the order following a lawsuit from the National Treasury Employees Union, which represents about 160,000 federal employees. The union claims in the lawsuit that the order would violate federal workers' labor rights and is unconstitutional, adding that it would lose 2/3 of its members and half of its dues if they order. Oops, I hate when they do that. The ad pops in there, and it where was it? Excuse me. Okay, so the union claims in the lawsuit that the order would violate federal workers' labor rights and is unconstitutional, adding that it would lose 2/3 of its membership and half of its dues if the order is allowed to go through. The order exempted more than a dozen agencies from the requirement to bargain with unions, including the Department of Justice, State, Defense, Treasury, Veterans Affairs, and Health and Human Services departments. It affects around 75% of the nearly 1 million federal workers represented by unions and expands an existing rule that exempts national security agencies like the FBI and CIA from collective bargaining requirements. So look, here's my take. I am not a union guy at all. In no way, shape, form, or fashion am I a union guy. You know, early on when I started following politics, I was following the unions, and in one of the first COVID bills, we took our taxpayer money and said that it was the UAW and other unions, and I hope I'm remembering this correctly. You guys can go back and read the 1,800-page bill if you want, or I will go back and try to find it if I need to verify it. But I did a report on it saying that in the verbiage for the first COVID bill, they said they would keep the unions solvent at 80% for, I believe it was the next 15, maybe 20 years. So our taxpayer money is going into the unions, the ones who are collecting hundreds of millions of dollars in union dues, that are paying their lawyers, $2,000 an hour lawyers and all of these folks. They're paying them gargantuan sums of money, and they can be as irresponsible, just like with the banks, right? When we bailed out the banks, they can be as irresponsible as they want to be with their investments, spend as wildly as they want to, and that the federal government, i.e. you and me, would keep them solvent for an extended period of time. And I don't recall if that made it into the actual final spending bill, but this is at a time where I was really leaning in to all the documents, and I was searching as much as I possibly could. But they kept coming back with a new one, and it was impossible for the average voter like myself and like you folks out there watching. We couldn't keep up with it all. But either way, they were proposing to keep them solvent. At the same time, these unions are the ones that jack up the prices for labor in America, make it insanely expensive for us to produce things. And they had a purpose back in the day. They no longer have that purpose. Now they are a political machine, and they are a political machine that overwhelmingly moves to the left. Now, Donald Trump has done some very clever negotiating with them, and he got some of these unions to come out and support him. But by and large, these are folks that have donated billions of dollars over the years to the Democrat Party. They are friendly with politicians when it behooves them. And at the end of the day, all they're really doing is jacking up the prices for our products. Holding, private businesses, holding a knife to their throat, more or less. So I'm not a union guy. Sorry, I'm just not. But we currently have a federal workforce that is so massive that when Donald Trump says he wants to shave them down, he wants to cull some of the fat or trim some of the fat, cull some of the herd when it comes to the millions of people that work for the federal government, the unions are holding them back. I can give you this is anecdotal, but it speaks perfectly to what we had to deal with when I was in the federal government. For 21 years, I served in the Army. I served 10 years active duty and about 10 and a half years active duty, about 10 and a half to 11 years in the reserves. And when I was on active duty, we had a guy, this is a civilian employee, he stole, I can't remember the exact dollar amount. It was a lot of money worth of computers. And this guy stole federal government property, taxpayer property, and it took them months and months and months to fire the guy. There's all these hoops you have to jump through because, just committing a crime, stealing from the taxpayers, that's not, come on, you got to check a lot of boxes. And so we, the taxpayers, continue to pay this guy while they were trying to process him out. That's an issue. If somebody is stealing, if somebody is not doing any work, if somebody's not showing up to the office, you got to be able to can them on the spot. Get rid of them. You can do it in the private sector. You should be able to do it in the federal government. But they don't want that. No, because there's dues. There's all kinds of money involved in it. What do you guys think about unions? Give me your honest opinion. I'd love to know. I know that it was funny. Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, he was all, union. I don't know if you guys remember seeing this. He was all amped up about the unions, very pro-union, until his staff decided they were going to unionize, and then he fought them tooth and nail. So I think the Democrats, they love unions so long as they're giving them money, but if they run a business and that business starts to unionize, now all of a sudden they start shaking in their boots. But I just think they don't really serve a purpose anymore. So, all right, the last thing we're going to cover is potential new popes. Now, I don't normally talk about Catholicism, but this is a big deal. The Holy Father is still lying in at the Vatican, but these are 5 quotes from Cardinal Robert Sarah. He's a favorite among conservatives to succeed Pope Francis. I played some of this guy's comments in, I don't remember if it was my last episode or maybe 2 of them ago, I forget. But this guy is very, very, very conservative. He is, to name a couple of things, he's conservative, pro-life, anti-woke, and has compared Western woke liberal culture trends to communism and Nazism. The guy is insanely conservative. I would love to know your all's thoughts on this, but I think that would really do well for the Catholic Church. The last pope, God rest his soul, was wildly woke. And I think it's time the Catholic Church gets back to its roots of conservatism. This guy was born on June 15th, 1945. He was born in Guinea to a family of, animist converts to Christianity. He was inspired by missionary priests and entered the St. Augustine Minor Seminary on the Ivory Coast at age 12. He was ordained a priest on July 20th, 1969 in Guinea, and later earned, where did he go? In theology from the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome, and so on and so forth. But again, this guy, he came out talking about the one that I highlighted, he discussed, was illegal immigration. And he talked about the West losing their culture, about Europe losing their culture, about this massive number of Muslims that were coming into Europe and into the United States. And he doesn't speak down about Islam, but he talked about this massive influx having a huge impact on the culture of Europe and the United States and other places around the world. And how, that's not a good thing, right? This is the same thing that we talk about. He's a vocal advocate for traditional Catholic teachings. He has emphasized sexual morality, the right to life, and liturgical reference, often promoting practices like ad orientem worship and, other things. He's a traditionalist guy, is really the way this comes across. Wouldn't that be a refreshing sight in the Catholic Church, to have an actual conservative? And for the people who still lean a little towards the woke side of things, which there are those in a lot of different churches. Don't get me started on the United Methodist Church, who's gone entirely woke. But other churches have some of those folks who want to check the identity politics boxes. Say something bad about this guy. I'd love to hear it. Yeah, if you're on the left and you got a problem with this guy, what's wrong with him? Huh? Is it the melanin? Is that your problem with him? I think this guy would be fantastic. When I listen to him, I don't have the video clip pulled up. I probably should have because I knew I was going to talk about it. But he just sounds like a very wise, traditional, intelligent, educated, member of the clergy. And at the end of the day, isn't that what you want the Pope to be? Somebody who is entirely biblical, who is not woke, who understands what the Bible says and believes the Catholic Church should be following those things. Seems pretty logical to me. But I'm voting for this guy. Yeah, I don't vote for him, obviously. In the court of public opinion, or in the vote of public opinion, I'm all for this guy, from what little I know about him. But have at it, Catholic Church. Y'all do your thing. Okay, y'all, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. It's going to be a little while before I post another video, but go ahead and hop in there if I get a chance while I'm on the road to post a video or do a live stream. I absolutely will. It might be from a hotel room, but God bless you guys. God bless America. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.